Research Station Horizon 7 hung silently in the darkness of deep space, a tiny speck of human ingenuity at the edge of the Oort cloud. As Earth's most distant outpost, the station's primary mission was simple: map the void beyond our solar system. 5 researchers lived aboard the lonely Sentinel, each a specialist in their field, each volunteering for this 3-year assignment far from home. Commander Sarah Ellis stood at the observation deck, watching the eternal night. Her reflection stared back, stern eyes, close-cropped hair, and the quiet confidence of someone who had spent more time in space than on Earth. Behind her, the station hummed with the familiar sounds of life support systems and data processors. "Commander, you might want to see this." The voice belonged to Dr. Marcus Chen, their astrophysicist, his usual calm demeanor giving way to something that sounded almost like excitement. Ellis made her way to the sensor lab where Chen sat hunched over his console, fingers dancing across holographic displays. "What have you found, Marcus?" "Something impossible." He pulled up a 3-dimensional projection of their surrounding space. "This object appeared 30 minutes ago. No approach vector, no radiation signature, no heat. It's just there." The hologram showed a sleek obsidian form hovering approximately 500,000 kilometers from the station. It resembled nothing Ellis had ever seen. Not quite a ship, not quite a natural formation. It was almost mathematically perfect in its symmetry, like a teardrop frozen in space. "Mass readings?" Ellis asked, already knowing something was very wrong. "That's the thing," Chen said, his voice dropping. "Our instruments can't decide if it has mass or not. One moment it reads as having the density of a neutron star. The next moment it's barely registering at all." Ellis frowned. "Natural phenomenon." "No natural phenomenon I've ever studied breaks physics like this," Chen replied. Dr. Aisha Okafor, the station's communications specialist, joined them. "We've been broadcasting standard greeting protocols for 20 minutes. No response on any frequency." Ellis studied the projection. "Distance. Holding steady at 500,000 kilometers," Chen answered. "It's not moving relative to us." "Run a full spectrum analysis," Ellis ordered. "I want to know everything about this object." As the team worked, technician James Rodriguez and Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka arrived, completing the station's small crew. Rodriguez immediately began assisting with sensor calibrations while Tanaka, their exobiologist, watched the object with intense fascination. "It reminds me of a cephalopod eye," Tanaka mused. "The way it just observes." Hours passed. The object remained stationary, silent, and utterly inscrutable. Every test they ran yielded contradictory results. It absorbed all the electromagnetic radiation directed at it, but somehow remained perfectly visible. It seemed both solid and hollow simultaneously. "Commander," Rodriguez called suddenly, his voice tight. "It's moving." The object had begun a slow, deliberate approach toward the station. No propulsion method was evident. It simply moved, as if space itself was carrying it forward. "Distance?" Ellis asked. 300,000 kilometers and closing steadily, Rodriguez reported. "Current velocity suggests it will reach us in approximately 6 hours." Ellis made a quick decision. "Send an emergency transmission to Earth. Include all our data." Okafor nodded and moved to the communications array. A moment later, her expression fell. "Commander, the transmission isn't going through. Something's blocking our signal." Chen's console erupted with alerts. Energy signature spiking. It's scanning us." The station's lights flickered. Displays glitched, showing fragments of code and data none of them had ever seen before. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, everything stabilized. "What just happened?" Ellis demanded. "It copied our entire database," Chen whispered, staring at his screen. "Every file, every log, every piece of research. It just took it all." A new alert sounded, this one from the station's main communication system. A message appeared on every screen simultaneously. Humans, we observe. 5 simple characters that sent a chill through the command center. Ellis approached the main console. Can we respond? Okafor worked frantically. I think so. The system seems to be maintaining a connection. Ellis nodded. Send this. We are peaceful researchers from Earth. We mean no harm. Who are you? The response came instantly. We are ancient. We observe. We GDG. Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably. Judge. Judge what? Another message appeared. Potential. Worth. Future. Ellis exchanged glances with her crew. It's assessing us. Or humanity as a whole, Tanaka suggested. The object continued its approach, now just 100,000 kilometers away. Its surface began to shift, patterns of light emerging across its obsidian skin like bioluminescence in deep ocean waters. Commander, Chen said softly, I don't think this is first contact. I think this is an examination. Ellis nodded slowly. And we're the specimens. The day stretched into a tense standoff. The object continued its approach, finally stopping just 1 kilometer from the station, close enough that it dominated the view from every window. Up close, its surface was hypnotic, with patterns that seemed to shift and move like liquid beneath glass. It's accessing our personal files now, Okafor reported, her voice tense. Medical records, psychological evaluations, personal logs, everything. Ellis felt a wave of violation, but maintained her composure. Let it look. We have nothing to hide. A new message appeared. Humanity stories, consumes, destroys, creates, huontoratiics. Before anyone could respond, the message continued. Follow. Chen looked up from his console. It's moving again, away from us, but slowly. It wants us to follow it, Tanaka said. Rodriguez shook his head. Follow it where? We're a research station, not a ship. Actually, Ellis said, her mind racing, Horizon 7 has maneuvering capability. It was designed to be repositioned if necessary. But we've never tested it for anything more than minor orbital adjustments, Rodriguez protested. Ellis looked at the obsidian object, now pulsing gently with inner light. I don't think we have a choice. If this entity wanted to harm us, it could have done so already. It's studying us, testing us. And if we refuse? Okafor asked. I don't think that's an option we want to explore, Ellis replied grimly. The decision was made. With careful precision, Rodriguez activated the station's maneuvering thrusters. Horizon 7 shuddered, then began to move, following the mysterious object as it led them away from the familiar boundaries of their solar system. Where is it taking us? Tanaka wondered aloud. Ellis watched the stars shift in the viewport. To the real test, I imagine. The object accelerated, and somehow Horizon 7's systems compensated, pushing the station to speeds it was never designed to achieve. The familiar stars of their home system began to fade behind them. Commander, Chen called out, his voice filled with awe. According to my calculations, we're moving at. This can't be right. What is it? Ellis moved to his side. We're traveling faster than light, Chen whispered. But that's impossible. Outside the viewports, space itself seemed to bend and warp around them. The stars stretched into streaks of light, then disappeared altogether, replaced by a swirling tunnel of energy unlike anything human eyes had ever witnessed. Hours passed in this impossible journey. The crew worked in tense silence, recording everything, knowing they were experiencing something beyond human understanding. Finally, the tunnel of light dissolved. Stars reappeared, but in constellations none of them recognized. Before them loomed a massive structure, a perfect sphere about the size of Earth's moon, but composed entirely of the same obsidian material as their guide. The smaller object that had led them here accelerated toward the sphere and merged with its surface like a droplet rejoining an ocean. A new message appeared. The CRUCIBL awaits. Prove your worth. The sphere began to open, a perfect circle appearing in its side like an iris dilating. Inside, they could see nothing but darkness. It wants us to go in there, Okafor said, her voice barely audible. Ellis studied the opening, then looked at her crew. The finest minds Earth had to offer, now facing something beyond human comprehension. Prepare the station, she ordered. We're going in. As Horizon 7 moved slowly toward the vast opening, Ellis couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's future hung in the balance. Whatever waited inside that sphere would determine not just their fate, but perhaps the fate of their entire species. The darkness swallowed them whole. Darkness enveloped Horizon 7 as it passed through the opening in the obsidian sphere. For several breathless moments, the crew felt as though they had been swallowed by the void itself. Then, gradually, a soft blue luminescence began to fill the chamber around them. "My God," whispered Dr. Tanaka. They had entered what appeared to be a vast museum, a catalog of cosmic life. Suspended in transparent fields throughout the chamber were artifacts and remnants of what could only be thousands of different civilizations. Strange vessels, technological devices of incomprehensible design, biological specimens preserved in perfect stasis, all arranged in concentric circles around a central platform. "Are those other species?" Rodriguez asked, pointing to what appeared to be fossilized remains of creatures, unlike anything in Earth's evolutionary history. "Not just species," Chen said, his voice filled with wonder. "Entire civilizations. Look at the arrangement. It's chronological, I think. A record spanning millions of years, at least." Commander Ellis surveyed the chamber with growing unease. "This isn't just a museum. It's an archive. Or a trophy room," Okafor added quietly. A new message appeared on their screens. "Many have COMBB4. Many failed DDATest." The realization struck them all simultaneously. They were looking at the remains of civilizations that had been judged and found wanting. "Commander," Chen called out, his voice strained, "there's something you need to see." He pointed to a section near the edge of the chamber. There, floating in perfect preservation, was something unmistakably human, a primitive space probe bearing Earth's markings. "Voyager 2, Ellis whispered. "It disappeared from our tracking systems nearly 40 years ago." Before anyone could process this revelation, the chamber began to transform. The museum displays receded into the walls, and the central platform illuminated with intense white light. From this light emerged 5 figures, each a perfect mirror image of a crew member, down to the smallest detail. "What is this?" Ellis demanded, instinctively stepping between the apparitions and her crew. The copy of Ellis stepped forward, its movements unnaturally fluid. When it spoke, its voice was identical to her own, yet somehow hollow. "We have studied your kind for centuries," the entity said, "from your first steps beyond your atmosphere to your current expansion. We have watched, silent, learning." The other 4 doppelgangers remained motionless, observing with unblinking eyes. "What do you want from us?" Ellis asked. "Understanding," her copy replied. "Each species that reaches beyond its cradle must be evaluated. The cosmos has rules, Commander Ellis. Ancient rules." "Rules determined by whom?" Chen challenged. His doppelganger answered, "By those who came before all. By those who seeded the stars." Tanaka stepped forward, scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "You're saying there was a precursor civilization, a species that came before all others?" "Not a species," Tanaka's copy replied. "A principle, an intelligence that predates matter itself." Ellis felt a chill run through her. "And you serve this principle?" "We are its instruments," all 5 copies spoke in perfect unison. "We observe, we test, we judge." The chamber darkened, and suddenly the crew found themselves surrounded by holographic projections, scenes from Earth's history, wars, environmental destruction. Technological marvels, artistic creations, acts of cruelty, and moments of profound compassion played out simultaneously around them. Your species is a paradox, the copies continued. You destroy what you need. You hate what you love. You fear what you create. The images shifted to show humanity's expansion into space. Colonies on Mars, mining operations on Europa, research stations like Horizon 7 pushing ever outward. Yet you persist. You adapt. You dream beyond your limitations. The holographic displays suddenly converged into a single image, Earth, beautiful and blue, spinning serenely against the backdrop of space. Now you face the final test, Ellis's copy announced. The test all spacefaring species must face. The image of Earth transformed, showing a barren, lifeless world. Extinction comes to all worlds eventually, the entity explained dispassionately. A star dies. A catastrophe occurs. Resources deplete. It is inevitable. The hologram expanded to show their entire solar system, gradually consumed by a red, swollen sun. Earth's fate billions of years in the future. When faced with the knowledge of inevitable extinction, species reveal their true nature, Rodriguez's copy stated. Some consume and conquer, taking what they need from others in a desperate bid for survival. Images appeared of violent, warlike species spreading across star systems like a plague. Others retreat inward, spending their final epochs in despair and isolation. New images showed civilizations that had turned away from the stars, building vast underground shelters that ultimately became tombs. A few attempt to transcend their physical form, seeking immortality through technology or energy transformation. The displays showed strange, luminous beings that barely resembled organic life at all. Each path has been tried. Each has been judged. The holograms vanished, leaving only the 5 doppelgangers facing the crew in the softly glowing chamber. Now it is humanity's turn, Okafor's copy announced. You will show us your choice. The chamber transformed again. This time, the crew found themselves standing before what appeared to be a control console unlike any human design. Above it hovered 3 distinct holographic symbols. 3 paths lie before you, the copies explained. Choose one. What do they represent? Ellis asked. The first is dominance, her copy replied. We will provide you with knowledge to conquer the stars. Humanity will spread, taking what it needs to survive. Many civilizations will fall, but yours will endure for millennia. The second is transcendence. Chen's duplicate continued. We will guide your species to evolve beyond physical form. You will abandon your bodies but preserve your consciousness, becoming beings of pure energy and thought. And the third? Ellis asked, already suspecting the answer. Acceptance. All 5 copies answered simultaneously. You recognize the natural order. All things end. You return to Earth and live out your species' natural time, making peace with cosmic mortality. Ellis studied the symbols, understanding the weight of the choice before her. Each path represented a fundamental aspect of human nature: ambition, curiosity, and dignity. How many species have faced this test? She asked. 10,472, came the immediate response. And how many passed? 17. The crew exchanged glances, the gravity of the situation settling upon them. What happens if we refuse to choose? Rodriguez asked. His duplicate smiled, a cold, calculated expression. None have ever refused. But such a response would be evaluated as failure. Your species would be contained. Ellis stepped forward, studying each symbol carefully. Then she looked up, facing her duplicate directly. These choices are incomplete, she said firmly. The chamber fell silent. For the first time, the doppelgangers showed a reaction: confusion. Explain, they demanded in unison. You've created a false trilemma, Ellis continued. You're forcing us to choose between survival through domination, transcendence through abandonment of our humanity, or passive acceptance of extinction. But these aren't the only paths forward. She turned to her crew, drawing strength from their presence. Humanity has never accepted false limitations. We find another way. There is no other way, the copies insisted. These are the fundamental choices all intelligence faces. Then your test is flawed, Chen interjected, catching onto Ellis's reasoning. And if your test is flawed, how many species have you wrongly judged? The chamber's light flickered briefly. The doppelganger's expressions became rigid. What alternative do you propose? They asked. Ellis stepped forward confidently. Cooperation. Mutual survival. We've seen your archives, thousands of species, each with their own knowledge, their own perspective. What if instead of competing or transcending or accepting doom, we learned from each other? What if survival wasn't a zero-sum game? Impossible, the copies stated. Resources are finite. Survival requires competition. Only if you think too small, Tanaka added. The universe is vast. The real limitation isn't resources, it's imagination. Ellis placed her hand on the console, but instead of selecting one of the three symbols, she pressed the space between them. We reject your choices and propose our own. We choose connection. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the entire chamber shuddered. The light changed from blue to gold, and the doppelgangers began to transform, their humanoid forms dissolving into swirling patterns of energy. A new presence filled the chamber, vast, ancient, and somehow curious. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. In 10,000 years of testing, no species HAs EV or GCTEDTE paradigm itself. The swirling energy coalesced into a new form, a shifting, geometric pattern that pulsed with life and intelligence. URETHE first to UESTION the test, the first to see below and DTAE limitations. Because that's what humans do, Ellis said simply. We question. We imagine alternatives. We hope. The entity expanded, filling the chamber with warm golden light. Perhaps we AVBEN ASKANGTE wrong QESTIONs. Perhaps survival is not the ultimate goal of intelligence. What is then? Ellis asked. That is what we wish to learn. The golden light intensified, and suddenly the crew found themselves bathed in images, not of Earth this time, but of countless other worlds, other species, other civilizations, not extinct or preserved, but alive, thriving, connected. There are others who AAVPASSED DFFORIENTTSTs, others who await connection. A community of worlds beyond your imagination. You want us to join them, Ellis realized. We want you to heal PLE them. Your perspective is unique. The light began to recede, and the crew found themselves back aboard Horizon 7. Through the viewports, they could see stars, familiar stars. They were back in their own solar system. We're home, Rodriguez whispered. Not exactly, Chen said, checking his instruments. We're at the edge of the solar system, but, Commander, according to these readings, we've been gone for less than an hour. On every screen throughout the station, a final message appeared. Your species has much to learn, and much to teach. We will return when you are ready for the next step. Below this message appeared a set of coordinates, a star system far beyond their current exploration capabilities, but not beyond their future reach. What do we tell Earth? Okafor asked quietly. Ellis looked at the coordinates, then at her crew, 5 humans who had faced judgment on behalf of their entire species and offered a new path forward. We tell them the truth, she said firmly. That we're not alone. That we're being washed. That we've been judged and found worthy. As Horizon 7 began its journey back to Earth, The obsidian object appeared once more outside their viewport, smaller now, observing silently. For a brief moment, its surface rippled with what almost looked like appreciation. Then it vanished, leaving no trace but the coordinates and a profound sense that humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos had forever changed. The void had watched them. And for once, humanity had truly seen back.